And we continue now with our Great American Panel. All right, the societal changes. We got 41% of children in this country are now born in households with single mothers. You've got 40 million Americans, a record now, getting food stamps. That's 1 in 8 Americans. And you got 1 in 5 Americans dependent on government for some subsidy. What does that mean? What does that tell us about where the country's headed?
I think it's a really scary time. There was a recent statistic that came out saying that we are not in a mancession, that this is a myth. And in fact, they said the people who are being unemployed now are women, but most importantly, single mothers who have no backup breadwinner.
All right, but you give advice on the website that we gave out earlier.
Caltalk.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you give advice, and the couples, right? What do you tell these couples that want to get a divorce? Or what do you tell these couples where their spouse cheated? What do you tell these couples where their spouse is an alcoholic or drug addict? What do you tell them?
Honestly, divorce right now is not fiscally responsible.
So you stick with a drunk, a drug addict, and a cheater?
No, I'm talking about it from an economic standpoint. You don't stick with somebody that's ever going to abuse you, hurt you verbally, physically. You don't deal with that. But we're in a bad state.
Do you tell people to try and work out infidelity?
Depends upon how many times. One time, maybe.
They get a pass.
2 times. It's not one time you get a pass. It's complicated.
Get passes? Do Gohmerts get passes? You bring up some interesting statistics, but here's another one. 40 million young boys will go to bed tonight without a father in the home. 40 million. You wonder what the problem is in America. 516,000 kids today in foster care in America. Half the population of Wisconsin jail cells are from foster care. We have some blights in this country that nobody's really talking about. They really need to be talked about.
That's why I left the bench as a judge. I kept sentencing more and more women for welfare fraud and selling drugs, and the background was all the same. It was, they were in high school, friends, sometimes mother, friend, would say, just drop out and have a baby. The government will send you a check, and they would, and they'd find out you can't live on one check. They'd have another and another and another, and they'd get further in debt. And what really got me, it was our government that lured them into a rut from which they couldn't get out.
Government was doing this.
The government, they meant well in the Great Society. We're going to help these single moms, and what they've done is, after 40 years of paying people, you get what you pay for.
Let me see if I can put it another way. All right, this year we have Miss USA contestants, all photographed in skimpy outfits. Now, we have some of the pictures of Miss USA. Now, have our values shifted and changed? Because I remember you'd watch, Miss USA, the American pageants, and I want to save the world from homelessness, and dressed in a long gown, maybe a bathing suit, but it was a one-piece. What does this tell us about society?
It's an absolute breakdown in morality, and when you lose morality, you get economic chaos, and when you have economic chaos, historically, people have always been willing to give up liberty. And that's what we're seeing.
They're selling. I mean, the fact of the matter is these pictures come out, how many days before the next Miss USA pageant? They're leaked to the media because they want people to sit there and watch these women when they ply their trade.
Michael, it will work.
It will work.
It is working.
Absolutely will work.
It is working.
Absolutely will work.
That's the point. But sex sells, so we keep getting more and more and more of it, more revealing by the day.
The problem that I have with the Miss USA pageant is that many of these women were actually uncomfortable posing, but they had...
How do you know?
Because that was reported. And one of the articles I read today, they said 2 of the contestants did not want to pose.
They made a choice to, get in those poses.
But they made a choice to go through the Miss USA organization. They never posed once they became Miss Kentucky or Miss Oklahoma to ever have to dress or lose their clothes, I should say.
But if a guy will dress like that, he's covered under the Hate Crimes Act. He's protected.
Yeah, but can I tell you something? If members of Congress might start dressing that way, that will help us really change Congress. So that might actually help. All right, guys, good to see you now. Before we say goodbye tonight, by the way, we wanted to set our thoughts even though we have our big political disagreements, the family of Vice President Joe Biden. Earlier today, the Vice President's son, Delaware Attorney General Bo Biden, suffered what is being described as a minor stroke, and he is expected, thankfully, to make a full recovery. So we wish him and his family the best. And that is all the time we have left this evening. Thank you for being with us. Let not your heart be troubled. The news continues. Greta Van Susteren standing by to go on the record. Greta, take it away.
Sean, thank you. Tonight, Karl Rove, right here, right now. He's the author of a brand new book, Courage and Consequence. Nice to see you, Karl.
Thanks for having me.
How's that book tour, by the way?
About ready to die. It's been going on forever.
That's what I figured. All right, big news in West Virginia tonight.
Alan Mollahan, a long-term Democrat incumbent congressman, has been defeated by a state senator, Mike Oliverio, who made an issue of some ethics originally discovered several years ago by the Wall Street Journal. Mollahan had gotten earmarks that were fed to nonprofit